Hey everyone, I'm here at Lake Ray Roberts, just enjoying some nature, enjoying getting out of the house a little bit, and I thought it was super appropriate because we're studying stability. Being stable in an environment means it's not changing, that everything's good, everything's working as it's supposed to, everything is in balance, you know, that fancy balance word that we like to use, and everything's great. And that's what happens in nature naturally until something shifts it out of balance. And so the biggest thing that shifts it out of balance, of course, is humans, but it can also be things like one plant gets picked up and moved to another area, and then that plant takes over this new area. That's called an invasive species. So invasive species, it's when a species just kind of takes over. And so here at Lake Ray Roberts, they actually have signs that say you need to drain all your lake water from your boat because of something called zebra mussels. And zebra mussels are one of these invasive species that can kind of take over an ecosystem and throw it out of balance. All right, so I saw this sign at Lake Ray Roberts, the Stop Zebra Mussels, Drain All Lake Water, it's the law. So I had heard about zebra mussels before. I knew they were an invasive species. I wasn't aware that they were so close locally. Apparently this is something that they watch out for at Lake Ray Roberts, which is just right north of Denton and Louisville Lake. And so zebra mussels, I was like, okay, well, what are they? What are they for? And it turns out that they're kind of like a water filter. So they filter and they clean the water. So this sounds like a good thing, right? Well, we'll see. So first of all, an invasive species means that it's not native. A native species is from there, okay? So here in North Texas, we have our own mussels that are native to Texas. They've been here for a long time. They're like the natives, okay? They were the first here. And those are called unioid mussels. Those are native to our Texas lakes and rivers and that kind of stuff. And so these unioid mussels are also water filters. Okay, they filter the water and they make the water like clear so that you can see through it, but they're just not as efficient as zebra mussels. So first thing, where do zebra mussels come from? So they actually come from Eastern Europe. So right along the border of Europe and Russia, there's a bunch of lakes and stuff here and these waterways where the zebra mussels came from. Now, the way they got to the United States is there was some sort of barge, okay, carrying supplies over, and it went into the Great Lakes. Now, once it made its way into the Great Lakes, it dumped a bunch of water from its ballast, and in that water, it had collected some zebra mussels. So now all of a sudden, there's zebra mussels here in the Great Lakes. And then, okay, that's fine. The Great Lakes are up here. North Texas is way down here. So how did they get from here to here? Well, you can see here, this is kind of the spread of zebra mussels. So yes, they're concentrated around the Great Lakes here because this is where they are introduced, but now they've started to spread. And so they've spread over the East Coast, Midwest, down here in Texas. Here's North Texas where we are, and then some in California, Montana. And the way they spread is simple. People, just like the barge coming from Eastern Europe, people go boating, they like to travel, they like to go to different lakes. Somebody probably went up here to the Great Lakes, have a nice vacation with their family, drove their boat around, probably collected some zebra mussels, and then when they went back home, they decided to take a little trip to their local lake, and when they traded in lake water or dumped some lake water out, it probably contained some zebra mussels in it, and then those zebra mussels really take over, okay? And that's what an invasive species does, is it takes over and kind of pushes out our native species, which are the unioid mussels, okay? And so let's talk about that real quick. So here, the red line is the zebra mussels, okay? This one is the invasive species. And then the unioid mussels, this is our native species. So these were here first. They're the ones that are native to Texas. These came later and kind of took over. So you can see here, zebra mussels were probably introduced around 1991. And there weren't a lot, okay? They're like 0. And unioid mussels, the native species, were here. Now, the zebra mussels, once they were introduced, took off, okay? They started reproducing like crazy. And when they started reproducing, the unioid mussels died off, and then they've continued to slowly decline as the years go by. Now, you can also see that the zebra mussels go up, down, up, down, up, down, and it's these stark, like, up-down movements. So what happens is that zebra mussels filter the water, but they filter it so well that they also get rid of nutrients. So they don't just filter out the toxins and the waste, but they filter out the nutrients too. So what happens is they populate, they clean the water too much, they deprive it of nutrients, and so then they start to die off. And then, okay, now the water starts getting murky again, it starts getting those nutrients back in, so the zebra mussels are able to repopulate, and then they clean it too well, all the nutrients are gone, and so it goes back down, and you get this up-down movement. So down here, this is the relationship between zebra mussels, and what is called Secchi depth. And so for this, I just want you to think water clarity. And they're measuring water clarity by how far you can see down. And so here, you have the water clarity is pretty stable before the introduction of zebra mussels. And then when zebra mussels start repopulating, okay, so here's zebra mussels, it goes up. At first, the clarity goes down, but once the zebra mussels have time to kind of do their filtering process, well, then the water clarity goes up, okay? And then the zebra mussels die off, and so the water clarity gets murky again. The zebra mussels repopulate, it gets clear again, and so you can see this back and forth relationship. And so, again, zebra mussels, this invasive species, because they're not native to our waters, they're not meant to filter our water. And so they're filtering it too much. They're not only getting rid of the toxins and the waste and like the fish poop and that kind of stuff, but they're also getting rid of the nutrients, like diatoms and things that will actually feed our fish and stuff like that. And so, zebra mussels, go figure.